Well, good evening. It's Monday, April 22nd. Just 2 days after Waco Day. Let's see, 3 days after Virginia Tech Day. And, oh boy, so much happens this time of year. Now we're always going to remember it over some nonsense that happened in Boston. Well, you're listening to the Alternative Energy Hour. This is the first hour of Monday's Wide Awake News, and I'm your host, Gary Hendershot, and tonight my guest for this presentation will be a very popular internet alternative energy experimenter who's commonly referred to as ZeroFossilFuel, and we're about to join him in his secret underground bunker. They're going to start calling this a bunker, Zero. I realize it's your secret underground lab, but nowadays anybody doing anything that's not 100% in step with the status quo is you're either going to live in a compound and you're going to spend your time in a bunker. You just get used to it, man.
Hi, everybody. ZeroFossilFuel, a legend in my own mind.
A legend in my own mind, yes. And how's life been treating you, Zero? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Well, same shit, different day.
Sorry. Yeah, I think you're allowed to say poop on the radio. I'm not sure. We do have to be somewhat careful about talking really nasty about somebody's mama, because we are talking to a lot of people who aren't accustomed to our usual banter.
Censored out, probably.
Yeah, let me hit my bleep button. Unfortunately, I don't have a time delay on this. It's going out in real time. So, Zero, the latest and greatest thing happening is this dog and pony that's going on, where the legendary Eric Dollard is supposed to make an appearance. Now, you might want to. There's probably a few in this audience, particularly the regulars for the Smart Scarecrow show, who know who Eric Dollard is. But there's a lot of people out there probably never heard of this guy, and he has been kind of off the radar, living as a hermit out of his automobile for a number of years. So, give these folks some idea of just who this guy Eric Dollard is and why anybody should really give a damn.
Eric Dollard is a very remarkable individual who is probably one of the few people alive today who has successfully replicated most, if not all, of Tesla's patents and demonstrated the effects that Tesla was working on. To the point where he actually had his original experimental lab in Bolinas, California, leveled by governmental authorities in Bolinas because they did not approve of his experimentation and activities. I don't suppose it helped much that he was only a stone's throw away, probably a good stiff 7-iron golf shot away from a naval base along the coast there. It was probably messing with every time he fired up his equipment. So
that might have had something to do with it, but
could have had something to do with it.
Now,
yeah.
Eric, in his early days, did a lot of work for the Navy. Surely he knew how to proceed with his playing around without interfering with. This guy's pretty knowledgeable about radio. As a matter of fact, I understand he's quite knowledgeable about radio, so you would think that if he was going to play with something like that, he'd be sensible enough not to be stomping on everybody else out there.
Well, it's at a certain point you get to a certain spot in your experiments where you have to move forward, and the interplay is unavoidable. You end up treading the same ground that the top military scientists are playing around in. And they don't like sharing their sandbox. The fact that the Eric Dollard was freely publishing some information about some technologies that were probably once reserved for the realm of military activity into the public domain now might be viewed as a threat to national security or just a pain in the neck for military operations. You know, this guy became a thorn in their side, and he's an ornery cuss. You know it. I mean, we're all a little bit on the ornery side, and we got a little bit of a rebel streak in us.
I resemble that remark.
I resemble that remark too, and I'm quite proud to say it.
Now, you know? I've read Dollard's writings, and to be honest with you, you know, he's using, first of all, he's using to prove his theories. He has invented a type of algebra that I don't understand. I mean, you know, it's like a guy who's a pretty competent chess player all of a sudden for the first time in his life being confronted with a three-dimensional chessboard. You know, you look at what are the legal moves? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in trying to decipher Dollard's written materials, I've come away, you know, with my head spinning. I don't understand his math. It's just way beyond me. How much of his material can you actually look at and absorb? How much of it can you look at and say, oh yeah, I understand how he's getting to these results, and yeah, that's valid. I tried and was unable to.
Well, I haven't really poured through his writings very thoroughly. I confess that. I have a lot of them on disc, and I really do need to spend some time. But I mean, time is such a premium these days. I mean, who has spare time? But I have been listening to every piece of Dollard video that I can get my hands on. I listened to his early presentation with Peter Lindemann, where he was demonstrating longitudinal wave transmission and the creation of a pancake coil that transmitted radio waves via a longitudinal pattern as opposed to a transverse pattern. And I know that's technobabble for a lot of people in your audience, so I'll try to keep it simple. But there's those early videos that he did for the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. There's a 6-part series on YouTube of those. There's a couple of series now that have just been released by what the heck is that guy's username on YouTube? Oh, crap, I can't think of it now.
Blame it on old timers disease.
Tech Zombie on YouTube. It has been released. He was the one who spearheaded the Indiegogo fundraiser to get Eric Dollard off the street, get him cleaned up, provide him some financial funding as well as another laboratory to resume and continue his work. And that fundraising campaign was a huge success. And Eric Dollard is back on his feet. He is back giving presentations, and he is going to be presenting this June, at the end of June, at the Bedini-Lindemann Conference in Hayden, Ohio. I would like to announce right now here to your audience that I just tonight signed up for that conference. So I have a seat at the conference. I've started a.
This is in Ohio? I thought it was in Idaho.
I'm sorry, Idaho. My bad.
No problem.
In Hayden, Idaho.
Hayden, Idaho. And what time frame? When is this coming down?
End of June. I think it's the 28th, 29th, and 30th of June. Somewhere around that range there. It's that weekend, and so I just made the commitment tonight because I have a fundraiser that I started to help defray the cost. I'm hoping to get about $2,500 to help defray the travel expenses to get out to Idaho, and by comparison, you know, with sending Sterling to Geneva to visit the Yildiz debacle and total flop. All
right, now hold your tongue. Hold your tongue until after the break, because you know if you're going to want to get too deep into that one, we're going to need a little bit more time. So, folks, please do hold on while we do our first commercial break. And we're back from our first break for the evening. And I think, Zero, you were just getting wound up as we as we had to bug out for our first break of the evening. Did you wish to continue where you
Yeah,
left?
sure, why not?
All right. Bottom line, we were talking about funding, and I mean, let's face it, none of these things we try to do are free. They got to get paid for somehow, and a lot of us put up a lot of our own money to put these things together. And it's sometimes nice to feel like you're appreciated by those who you present this material to, with a little bit of a financial contribution. How has your fundraiser for your travel expenses to go see Dollard? How's that worked out so far?
Well, you've been kind enough to plug my fundraiser on your program couple of times already, and I'm very happy to say that through your efforts, I generated absolutely $0.
Gee, makes me feel good. Shows you how much pull I've got.
How much clout you've got? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute! I kicked in $50.
No, you just did. Yeah, recently, and this is after I posted my video and sent out a couple of tweets, basically starting my own effort to push the fundraiser in earnest, and I'm already about almost a third of the way to my goal. So I'm very, very confident that I will reach my goal by the time that it's time to depart for the conference. I want to thank everybody who has donated. I do have a fundraiser widget at altenergy.org. That's alt-nrg.org. Those of you in the YouTube audience and the video audience, they can see the link right at the top.
Yeah, it's pasted right across your forehead.
Throw a few dollars in there. I'd appreciate it. But I just this evening signed up and reserved my seat at the Bedini-Lindemann conference. I am committing myself now to go, and I have received an outpouring of support to help my efforts in getting out there, even from a gentleman who is a regular YouTube subscriber and longtime follower who lives out near Spokane, where I would be flying into, and offered me a place to stay and a vehicle to use to go back and forth between where he lives and the conference location. So
obviously that somewhat moderates the costs. I mean, if you had to pay even a cheap motel these days, about $60 to $100 a night.
That's correct, and I'll be out there for at least 4 nights. So I figure, and the car rental, it's just very generous, and I really appreciate that. And I will probably take him up on that offer. So if he's watching, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you when I'm in Spokane. But the point that I was making before the break was a lot of people put up a lot of money to send Sterling Allen to a very extravagant location in Geneva, Switzerland, to view what everyone knew would be a farce, and what we ended up getting was a farce. And now Sterling is trying to present his 35 reasons why he still thinks it's legit. My translation of that is Sterling's 35 excuses to try and save his reputation, which is, I'm sad to say, very, very rapidly fading. This is no place for cheerleading. There is a lot of serious work going on, and Yildiz is not it. I'm sorry. So I've said my piece on Yildiz.
Okay. Well, I think we've heard, I think, both sides, because I think I did have Sterling do a show after he got back. I think he did. I think he did the Monday show since he's been back from Geneva, and he gave the positive arguments on the Yildiz demonstration. Then I had the next week I had Mark Dancy come on and present the negatives. So as always, I try and present both sides every argument and do the best I can to walk the fence and be neutral.
Right, and you do a good job of it, Scarecrow. I give you credit for that. I would have punted Sterling from your show a long time ago if it was my show. So
well,
that's just me.
when you look at the alternative energy genre and you try to find material that's of interest.
Yeah, he does have a way of pulling in a lot of that.
I mean, as far as the contribution, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Sterling does have a fairly strong audience. So he has obviously he has more clout with his audience than I have with mine.
Right. So anyway, getting back to Eric Dollard, which is our topic for the evening.
We've got about a minute. We got about a minute and 40 seconds here before they put us into another break. Can you kind of executive summary for us and sum it up, and we can get some detail when we get back from the break. Just what is it you're hoping to hear from Dollard when you make this trip to Mecca?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I would like to shake his hand because I think he's a very great man. I'm very interested in many of his theories. The electromagnetic and dielectric field arrangements and relationships that he has based his theories upon. I think there is credence to them, and I'd really like to, if he'll let me, I would like to get him and sit down for maybe a 10-15 minute interview that I could publish on YouTube. So,
and there comes the bumper music. All right, folks, we're coming up on break number 2. I'm hearing a little bit of echo coming out of Zero's open speakers on his end, but we'll get that sorted out during the break. We're talking about Eric Dollard tonight. Very interesting fellow. Please do stand by until after these commercial announcements. We'll be right back. And we're back from our break. And we're talking to ZeroFossilFuel. And Zero, I'm not sure what happened to your audio, but it just went caca on me. Ah, there it is. You must have stepped away from your receiver or something, because it all of a sudden I started getting all kinds of noise like you stepped near a fluorescent tube.
Could be my cell phone.
In any case, we were talking about your trip out to Idaho to see a presentation by Eric Dollard, and we were talking about what you hope to achieve. And not just
Eric Dollard. I mean, there are going to be a lot of fine presenters out there.
Who are some of the other presenters that you're hoping to see? That might be an interesting thing to follow up on.
I don't really know.
Don't even really know. I understand. I understand a lot of the old Borderlands team is supposed to be there. I understand Lindemann is supposed to be there. I don't know about Brown.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people there that I'm sure I will meet that I have heard of.
But now, just between you and me, now a lot of this seems to be this new age kumbaya type stuff to me. Now, I like everybody else, I've got an opinion, and my opinion is that it's going to be. Let's run naked in the woods with flowers in our hair, and it sounds like what we used to do back in the 1960s, and these guys just never grew up and got a job. But so I think if I was going there, I would be interested in Dollard, but a lot of the other stuff sounds like fluff to me. What's your impression?
Yeah, I have to tend to agree. I mean, Eric is the reason that is what pushed me over the edge. Generally, I don't put a lot of weight in these conferences. Everybody says, "Oh, Z, you should go. You should go." There's a lot of great stuff being talked about and shown there, and I don't know. I tend to agree with you. I think it's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of self promotion that goes on at these things. I mean, heck, I'm going to be promoting myself too. So let's face it, we're all self promoting to some degree. Even Eric Dollard. But I mean, he's got something to promote, and I think his concepts and theories seem way out on the fringe, but it's very hard to argue with results. And Eric Dollard has shown results. He has replicated some experiments, seen some fantastic things that cannot be explained by what's being taught by academia. So the classical understanding of electromagnetics and what electricity is, just the very definition of it alone, I think is misunderstood, and I think it's a miracle that we have progressed technologically as far as we have, with the misunderstanding that we have of the nature of electricity itself and magnetism.
Well, the fact is, our understanding of electricity, both electrical and electronics. Ooh, boy, that echo is getting to be a. I'm definitely hearing myself coming back from your setup, but that's okay. It's obviously good enough that we can make things work, like cell phones and computers and so on.
Right. So I can flip a light switch on and make the lights go. So I mean, I don't have to understand how it works, but it does work. So I mean, we can make use of what we understand.
And of course, I don't want to get too crazy with with quantum physics and talk about the dual slit experiments and stuff like that, because probably go right over most people's heads. Their eyes will roll in the back of their heads and but a lot of what we're talking about here is the true nature of electricity. Is electricity composed of particles called electrons that travel down a wire, or is electricity a wave form that propagates on the surface of the conductor? That's really the difference we're talking about, isn't it?
That's correct. And in fact, it goes even beyond that. It propagates in the field generated around the conductor, where the effect is most profound at the surface of the conductor, and what Eric Dollard refers to on the inside of the conductor as being the dielectric component of the electromagnetic field existing in counter space. I earlier, before some of the breaks, I began to allude to the fact that I've been watching a lot of Eric Dollard's presentations, and one of the presentations I found very interesting was a dissertation an lecture that he gave on anti-relativity, and an argument against the Einsteinian,
or whatever you want to call it.
Einsteinian, whatever, concept of the theory of relativity, because in a lot of Tesla's work, the theory of relativity falls apart, and if you can't explain it, you discard it. So that's basically what he's talking about. And the last presentation that I'm about halfway through was just recently posted. It's almost 4 hours long. It is about the origin of electricity, or the creation of energy from essentially nothing, or from counter space, as Eric Dollard refers to it. And I have long held a theory of my own about counter space and an alternate reality, or a mirror image reality, or a mirror spectrum, or whatever you would like to call it, the 0 point, the quantum field, the ether, all of these names apply. And I found it in a very simple mathematical formula for a radio frequency mixer. And I believe that there is a way to create components that will harness this energy, and to allow radio wave propagation through space in such a way that as Eric Dollard demonstrates with his longitudinal waves, there is no delay. There is no speed of light limitation. There is virtually no space between point A and point B as the waves, or as the energy propagates through the ether.
Now, once again, I don't want to get into I don't want to talk so far over people's heads, but quantum physics refers to that as entanglement, and the idea that an action on one entangled atom at one point in space and time can have a mirror impact on an entangled atom that might be light years away, and the effect is instantaneous.
Yes.
So basically what Dollard has demonstrated is practical methods of proving what quantum physics refers to as entanglement? Is that a possibility?
I think that's a fair statement.
Because a practical demonstration of that would be earth-shattering. That would be cool stuff, because this is out on the fringes of theoretical physics as far as quantum theory is concerned.
And this is why it was so important to get Eric Dollard funded again and back into a lab and using his brains and throwing stuff against the wall like all of us do. I feel a little bit like, if I were to meet Eric Dollard, I would look at Eric Dollard like Morpheus, and I feel a little bit like Neo. I feel I know something, but I can't explain it. I feel it like a splinter in my mind and driving me mad,
Careful there, Doc Brown. We ain't up to 21 gigawatts yet, or 1.21 gigawatts.
So I'm throwing stuff against the wall too, and I sent you a picture. I don't know if you're ready to put it up. Of a gizmo.
I'll do it right now, and we're going to have to go out on the break on this one, because I do believe we're going to be hearing the break music coming up just shortly. Okay. There is the break music.
Yeah.
So, folks, when we get back from this next commercial break, we're going to discuss one of Zero's latest experiments that he's working on, and we'll tell you just what that weird gizmo that we just posted a picture up there is all about. We'll be back momentarily. Please do stand by. Okay, and as I always try to do at least once during these broadcasters, I'd like to remind the audience to please show those advertisers a little bit of love. We need to make sure they know that they are appreciated. We're talking to ZeroFossilFuel tonight about his upcoming expedition to the wilds of Idaho, hopefully to see a presentation by Eric Dollard, and we've been discussing some of what Eric Dollard has shown experimentally. And just as we were getting ready to leave for the break, we put this picture up as a teaser. This weird looking thing. And now, Zero, I've got the picture up there right now, and what I see is a not quite closed ball of wire with a rather large BB in the middle. Just what the heck am I looking at, and what's this thing supposed to do?
Okay, well, first of all, one of the experiments that I was attempting to conduct earlier with this large BB, which is actually a 1-inch diameter neodymium magnet.
That's a big BB, 1 inch in diameter, huh?
1 inch in diameter,
and it's really a neodymium magnet.
That red cross that you see painted on the magnet represents the north-facing pole of it, and the south-facing pole is directly opposite. I took that and glued it to a golf tee and spun it in a Dremel. And what I've done is, what I did was I wound some coils that were half spherical coils.
Yeah, let's explain the coil arrangement, because the folks who are looking at this on JTV and the people who will see it later on YouTube can actually see the picture on the screen right now. But our largest audience, of course, is radio. Right. Now, what I'm seeing is 3 half globes of wire that have been wound. It just looks like it's a straight one. It looks like you wound a wire around a golf ball or something. And I see 3 half globes that are put together at right angles.
That's correct.
And you've got this one section that's wide open. What's the purpose of the wide open section?
So you can see it.
Oh, okay. Now, is your plan to close that up and have a complete globe of wire and have this magnet inside a complete globe, or do you intend to just leave it open like that?
I don't believe that's necessary. First of all, let's start with just 1/2 sphere, how I wound the coil, so people can get a picture in their mind of what it is we're talking about. I took a 2-inch diameter wooden ball, and I put a screw in one side of the ball with a washer on it, and then I started winding 22 gauge wire, enameled copper wire, starting at the center of this small washer and working my way around the outer diameter of this ball until I got to the halfway point. And along the way, I was gluing it with super glue and rapid accelerant all the way, so that the windings didn't come apart. And what I ended up with was a half spherical coil that I could lift off of the wooden coil form. I wound 3 of these coils. One of my first experiments was to attempt. Part of what I'm doing here was trying to create an electromagnetic generator that had no lens drag effect on the mechanical moving magnets that are going through the passing their field in front of the coil. What I ended up creating was something that actually created more lens effect, and it ended up being a much more efficient generator. I took the neodymium magnet, I glued it to the head of a golf tee and spun it in my Dremel and immersed the spinning neodymium magnet in the opening of the half-sphere coil, and discovered that there is a very definite, by winding the coil this way, there's a very definite focal point of the field of the magnet when the spinning magnet is moving inside of it. But what I also found was that inside the half-sphere coil is a very concentrated and very directional electromagnetic field that emanates from the focal point of the half-sphere coil to the rim of the coil. And I took this coil concept and this very directional electromagnetic field in the center of the half-sphere coil, and I took and wound 3 coils, and I embedded these coils in each other at right angles in 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. And then I took the neodymium magnet and put it off axis to each of those 3 coils. And what I hope to do is to induce the permanent magnetic field with the electromagnetic coils that surround it in this assembly. I hope your radio listeners will visit your YouTube channel, YouTube/Smart Scarecrow, and actually see this picture posted on the video and go and watch it, because a picture really is worth 1,000 words. Now, part of what Eric Dollard talks about in many of his theories is also the dielectric constant and an electrostatic field. And many of the profound experiments that I have been reading about that actually produced any sizable effect involve a high voltage potential. So one of the phases of this experiment is going to be to elevate the neodymium sphere to a very high voltage potential relative to each of the coils inside this partial sphere that I've created with these 3 coils, and create an electrostatic field while I energize the electromagnetic field with current through the coils. Again, you know,
wow, that's
I feel like Neo, who knows something that he can't quite articulate, but he's throwing stuff against the wall and trying to discover what it is he thinks he knows.
Okay, now let me see if I can put an executive summary on this from my understanding. Okay. So you're going to energize one of the coils with high voltage, high frequency, one of the 3 coils, or what kind of arrangement are you going to put this high voltage, high frequency charge on?
Oh, there are a number of experiments that I can do with this particular setup.
Is your expectation that the high voltage, high frequency energy that you put in will have some sort of interaction with the other 2 coils? You might actually be able to receive energy off the other 2. I'm trying to get a picture in my mind of what you're trying to prove experimentally.
What I am hoping to do is to modulate the permanent magnetic field created by the neodymium sphere.
I'm going to put that image back up for the viewers.
That excess energy can be picked up by the 2 remaining coils surrounding the magnet to self-power the system.
Well, that would be, of course, that would kind of be the holy grail. I mean, if we can find a system that self-powers.
Of course.
How would you measure such an effect. There's going to be a lot going on in there. Okay, you're going to have high voltage, high frequency electricity. I assume at fairly modest current levels, going through at least one of the coils, perhaps as many as two, and you're going to use the third or perhaps two of the other two coils as pickups. Is that basically what you're going to do?
That's basically what I'm going to do. Essentially, though,
will the pulsing of the high voltage, high frequency energy, will that spin the neodymium ball?
No, the neodymium ball is fixed.
Okay, so it's going to stay stationary inside this thing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, are you hoping that the high voltage, high frequency energy that you put in will change the flux density of the magnetic field? Could it possibly interact with what I'm trying? Are you
not change the flux density, but change the focus of the magnetic field as it emanates from the neodymium sphere to align with and disalign with the pickup coils, which should induce a voltage. I'm not necessarily going to be putting a high frequency, high voltage into the neodymium sphere. I simply want to elevate it to a high voltage DC potential and create an electrostatic field inside the sphere, inside the coil sphere, to excite the activity. Maybe create some ball lightning or something.
Or open up a black hole, as we were.
Or open up a black hole. Yeah,
if your secret underground lab is sucked into a black hole, we'll know you were successful, right? But bottom line here is that for those in the audience who do not know this, your basic design for a generator is to move a magnetic field within a coil of wire. I mean, your most basic generator, that's how it works. You take a magnet and you rotate it in a coil of wire, and that produces electricity in the wire. So I think, now if I understand correctly, you got this ball magnet and you got these coils around the ball magnet. What you're hoping to do is to get the magnetic field on that ball magnet to kind of oscillate a little bit, and maybe just with the little bit of motion that you can induce in the magnetic field, you could generate electricity in the other two. Is that I'm trying to understand where we're going to get.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, so now I think we got an executive summary now.
What I'm working on is a motionless electromagnetic generator.
So in theory, there will be no moving parts to this, and the way you will get the magnetic field to move is hopefully by this high voltage, high frequency charge that you put in either one or two of the coils. Is that it?
Say that again.
Okay. There's going to be no motion in this gizmo. You're not going to hook the magnet up to your Dremel tool and spin it. Where the way you're hoping to get the magnetic field to move within the coil is by pulsing a high energy charge at it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I knew the bump music was coming, so I just want to throw my website out there one more time, alt-nrg.org.
And for those of you who are watching it in the video, it's plastered right across his forehead. That's alt-nrg.org. Zero Fossil Fuel.
Help me get to Idaho.
All right. Zero Fossil Fuel, thank you so much for being my guest on the show. I told you this 1 hour show goes really fast. We're out of here. Folks, please do stay tuned. Charlie McGrath is going to come along in just a few moments with Sybil Edwards tonight as his guest. So do stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important commercial announcements.